going to earn to have it all.
Yes. And here is my reality. I believe that the reason I manifest the way I manifest today is because of that situation. Me not like I ended up moving home. Like I decided, okay, I can't even afford the hotel. So let me move back to Alabama. Let me move in with my mom. Me losing a home, no money, no car, and really having to start over. If I had not have experienced that, I don't know if my faith would be as big as it is today. And the reason I can manifest the way I manifest is because of how much faith I have. It's been too many occasions that I've been at zero, and God has literally blessed me with thousands almost overnight. It's been too many occasions that that's happened. My faith is so strong because God has been proven in my life.
Okay. You just did a mic drop. that line right there. Mm-hmm. Wow, your faith is so strong. It's the evidence, right, of God always presenting itself in the challenge, of God always like multiplying. It's like the multiplication of the fish, right, in the Bible, like that Jesus multiplies the fish. What does that mean? It's a metaphor, like by their deeds you will know them, but also by your beliefs you will know their deeds, right? And the power of your belief is incredible, and the certainty in your voice when you speak about faith, there's no doubt or hesitation.
Yes.
Why? Yes. Tell people about this.
It's so interesting because I talk a lot about money. Of course, you know that. And one day I was having a conversation about my relationship with money and how much I trust money, and that I know that even if I was to empty my account, that means nothing because money is plentiful. In reality, what I'm actually talking about has nothing to do with money and everything to do with my faith in God. I just have a conversation in the space of what it is that people are interested in having the conversation about, which is money. And that's how, with that God's showing up in my life when money shows up.
Wow, and I know you've been like, I've been criticized. So like, I think I've been criticized more than praised in my life, which is it has built my resilience and everything. But I've seen, one time I was called a gold digger, and I leveraged it to myself to say like, yeah, I'm a god digger. Yeah. And you were called, I don't remember what, but I was like,
a money hungry skank. Someone called me a money hungry skank. I didn't even know what a skank was. I still don't really know, but it was derogatory. I know that.
Oh my God. And so, because I think that when people hear you, they hear you or they meet you, they see you so empowered, so powerful, that they have no clue how you have earned the right to speak about money in such faithful ways, right? Yes. There is the component of money being like ugly, being from the devil, that's so stupid. This is my first word that I've ever heard said in the podcast, but it's stupid. It's so archaic to think that whoever makes money is evil or whatever they call you, it's ridiculous, especially when you begin to know the background of people that are really working hard, that have their core values in place. Like you did, like you said, I wanted to pick up my child from school.
That's it. I wanted to be able to be a present parent.
I love that.
Even though I didn't have any money at the time, yes, I remember having this belief and this knowing. And again, at that initially, my faith I didn't even really understand what faith really was. But I remember having a knowing that as God's child, I was not to struggle, that something was off. I was out of alignment. Something was off, but I didn't know what it was because, of course, I had not done all this work. But what I know is when your faith is sure, when you really have full faith in God and God existing in everything, including money, that's the manifestation of God. When you have that, then you don't struggle. Abundance is plentiful and abundance is of God.
Wow. Oh, wow. I'm making so many notes right now. And so how have you, in this journey of you becoming Stephanie Synclair and helping so many people getting embodied, being in their own power, launching businesses. What has been a couple of the biggest struggles for you that have, your faith is so strong that I'm really just using these questions to bring a conversation that can help others, because you are so aligned with the faith. But what were the biggest struggles you will say in this path? Because you are very outspoken about money. I love that about you. You remove the stigma of the money. They try to put the stigma back in the money, the people that want the money, which is ridiculous for me. It's like people complain when they see someone making money, asking for money, you're asking for money for their services, but they also want money. So it's illusion. But tell us, what are the struggles that you have faced that have strengthened your faith, that have strengthened the ability for you to speak so freely about money, and the ability that you have to help people also transcend their limitations? I know if you need me to re-ask this, let me know, but let's talk about the struggles first.
Yeah. First, let me kind of mention about people and people having a lot to say when you talk about money. And one of the things I had to realize is it really isn't personal. What's happening is that my conversation about money is triggering for people who have money wounds. It's triggering for them. And so it's like putting a salt on the wound. And so for them, it's this hurts. Let me attack. Let me get rid of the salt. Let me get rid of it. It's not personal. And so that initially was kind of hard to realize. People have an issue with my conversation of money, yet I know my conversation of money is how I help people free themselves and create legacy. So I know I have to have the conversation. And so I really had to learn not to take that personal. That's a huge struggle. And people still, to this day, people have something to say extremely negative about me or my successes or disbelief, because when people see miracles in your life or things that they think is impossible, then of course they project because they haven't experienced those things in their lives. But I really don't believe in limitations at all. And it's so interesting. Again, I think it's because of the miracles that's taking place in my life. Let me tell you about one of the stories, one of the miracles. And I know you've heard this story before. This was before I had started my business, but it was really rough in the beginning. It was very, very rough. It was before I got evicted from this apartment. And I ended up staying in the apartment a couple of extra months because I was, quote unquote, manifesting rent money for the month. And so I knew early on that I just needed to kind of follow my intuition and where I was pulled to. And this particular month, or this particular time, I needed to manifest. I don't remember how much it was. It was like, from what I knew, I was thinking rent. I wasn't thinking any other bills. And so let's say it was $2,000. So I'm manifesting $2,000, and I start feeling a pull that I need to go to this particular new store that I heard had opened up that was far from my home. Now I have less than a quarter of a tank of gas. And the truth is I knew I wasn't even going to make it. And I'm like, God, this is crazy. Like, how do I get to this store? And so a friend of mine ended up giving me some money for gas. So I go to the store, and while I'm at the store, ended up meeting this lady who was new to the city as well. At the time, I lived in Dallas, Texas. And we connected because we're both new to the city, and we were going to have like a coffee date and support each other. And this was maybe on a Thursday or Friday. So I started realizing I needed to manifest on a Monday, and I would wake up at 5 a.m. Now, I don't know if this is necessary, but I followed my intuition, and my intuition told me I needed to wake up while it was quiet, and I needed to pray and have my prayer time. So I would wake up at 5 a.m., light a candle and pray. And I was led to go to this store. And that was like a Monday. On that Friday, the lady who I connected with, that's when I went to the store. She called me, and I'm thinking she's calling me about the coffee date. But the truth is I didn't have $1 to my name. And I was going to tell her we needed to hold off on the coffee date. And she said, that's great, but that's actually not why I'm calling you. And I'm like, why are you calling me? And she said, I know this seems weird, but for some reason, I feel that I'm supposed to ask you, what do you need? And at the time, my ego was so big, I was unable to say what I needed when I had been praying to God for a need. So sometimes we don't realize God works through people. And so I expected something to just kind of show up in my account. I don't know how I thought it was going to show up. And eventually I told her, and I was really embarrassed to even tell her, I'm like, okay, well, my rent's due. I think that Monday they were going to file for eviction if I didn't have my rent in by that Monday. And she said to me, well, I'm going to believe with you that you are going to get the money. How much do you need? And I told her, oh, just my rent. And she said, but is that true? Or do you need all your bills paid? And I kind of paused and I said, well, technically all, but my rent is what I'm concerned about at this moment. Long story short, on Monday morning, she calls me 6 a.m. to tell me that she was going to pay all my bills up for me. I didn't owe her anything. And I never had to talk to her again. She paid my rent up for 2 months, paid my car note for 6 months, gave me like $500 for food,
Wow.
catering, all the things. And then that was it. And I like to tell that story because people have this belief. They always say, you know, when you pray for something, it doesn't just show up for you. And you're right. But in a way it did, because even though
yes,
I had to go to the store to meet the person, I couldn't sit in my house, I was led to this particular store, and I didn't even have any money to spend in the store, but I was led to go to the store where I met her. Technically, I did nothing but followed my intuition, and a total of about $15,000 was given to me. That was the total of everything that was given to me.
wow.
And all from that one situation. That was one of the first things that really began to build my faith. And I realized then, if I have a need, I need to trust that God will send a stranger. And that built my faith for even business. And business, I know that even if my count is at 0, that means nothing. God can send a client or 2 or 10 overnight at any moment. And because I know that, without a doubt, I don't even really think about it. I just know it. I can say, oh, I would love 5 new clients. And within a week, I tend to have the 5 new clients. Usually within an hour or two, someone's messaged me, emailed me, DM'd me, or something like that, because that's where my faith is. And so I'm literally calling it in, and it comes immediately because my faith, that's where the level of my faith. I was reading a book, and I think it's called God Works Through You. And the book, it was one sentence that I always remember from the book. And it said that the only difference between delayed manifestation and instant manifestation is your faith.
Boom. Where your faith is, that's where your manifestation goes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh, wow. You know, this is so powerful. And I hope everybody that is listening is making notes, because every line that you've said is an evidence of faith. It's an evidence of the power of belief. It's an evidence that no matter how many times you are in 0, you can turn that lighting bulb, right? That they said that from 0 to hero, you definitely have done it. To have a very strong why, you know, be a present parent. I mean, what a beautiful, powerful thing. Like a lot of people think they need to have their why, like, I'm going to save everybody, the manatees in the beach. I'm going to save all the people in humanity. No, I just want to be a present father or a present mother. How powerful. And how powerful that, you know, I have evidence in my life that God does sends people to support, that God will use people to accelerate his desires, because he wants us to have all that we dream of and more.
Yes.
Yes. Parent does.
And you know what? I truly believe that him sending that person to me really had nothing to do with my bills, really, and had more to do with the fact that God was showing me that he will always come through for me. And it was the last minute. It was the day that the eviction was going in if I didn't have the rent in by 5. And so what ended up happening was, by that morning before she called, I had all but given up. I had just decided, well, let me pack my stuff, because I clearly don't know how to get the money. And so I, quote unquote, gave up my personal power And as soon as I gave up my pushing, my thinking this was going to come through a particular way, as soon as I gave it up, it came through God's way. And God has showed up in my life that way so many times.
You know, it's what you just said. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and he was telling me, I don't understand this thing that you say,